Hey Tom, thanks so much. Let's get some straight talk from a Queenslander now. Liberal Party MP Scott Buchholz joins me live from Canberra. Good to see you, Scott. Thanks so much for your time. Can I first ask you about the National Energy Guarantee? Is this going to pass party room, do you think?
Oh, mate, well, you've got the wrong person on your show to foreshadow what's going to happen in the party room. I'm normally a tight ship. But can I say that on the large issues that the party room has discussed in the past, the party has been resolute and each time we've come up with a position of which the party's adopted. We should be thankful for the broad scope of opinion and discussion that we will have, so that we are covering off every possible avenue for Australian citizens. But I tell you what, just let me give a shout out to Josh Frydenberg. This has been a remarkable course of which he has charted to get the renewable energy target to where it is at the moment by adding on to into the energy guarantee supply.
Okay, are we talking about the ACCC underwriting new players in the dispatchable coal market there? Is that something you're really supportive of?
Mate, I'm supportive of seeing more about how coal plays a role into the future. I'm looking forward to how the energy guarantee provides that guaranteed supply into the market, because the renewable energies sector failed to be able to fill that. Now, I'm not wedded to coal, but when I'm talking about coal-fired power stations, I also talk about gas-fired power stations. Now, the other part of the energy guarantee, which I am enthusiastic to subscribe to, is the fact that it's foreshadowing a $550 per year decrease for mums and dads, people in my electorate that are struggling to pay with the increased, pay and service the increased cost of household electricity. Anything that puts downward pressure in it and is in supported lockstep with over 200 businesses, whether it be the Irrigators Association, National Farmers Federation, the Grocery Council, St Vincent de Paul, whoever they are, they're out there saying that we should be having a look at that. I'm going in there tomorrow morning at 8:30 to have a good solid look at it.
Okay, and what will you be looking for in particular, Scott Buchholz? Because some in your party have really doubted the modelling that's been put forward by the Energy Security Board, saying it's, it's fanciful. Tony Abbott made that comment. You would have seen what Barnaby Joyce had to say this morning. So, I mean, you say you're not wedded to coal in particular, but some of your Queensland colleagues seem to be convinced that this is the cheapest option and the government should be underwriting a new coal-fired power station. Should that be specific? Should that be made clear that the government is willing to support new coal-fired power?
Yeah, good point, Laura. I think we will see those outcomes come about by tomorrow's discussions. What we will see in the first tranche, I dare say, by the NEG, the National Energy Guarantee, is that you will see existing coal-fired power stations with this with this guarantee subscription, then start investing money in upgrading and taking advantage of more efficient coal-fired power stations as they go to do their regenerations. I think you'll see that first. The time frames for new coal-fired power stations, lead-in time is around that 5 to 6 years, and we're looking upwards of $4 billion. I think it'd take a little while, and I would be encouraging those that are looking to invest in those parameters, in particular in the north of Queensland, the north of Australia, where if we are genuinely looking to develop the north, the two things that go hand in hand with developing new economies is cheap baseload power, reliable, that you can get to them every day, and water.
Okay, let me ask you more broadly about the Longman by-election. As I mentioned at the beginning, you know Queensland better than most. You would have been looking at this result. What lessons do you take out of it?
You know what? I think I get disillusioned that that we're not crafting our message as a government well enough, that I'm still seeing that leakage that I wouldn't expect to come back to us. Only 50% of that Hanson vote comes back to us, and I don't want to use a language that they're leaving us. They're just not voting for us because we're failing to craft a narrative for them to stay with us, because they were with us. They were with us. I mean, these are the tough issues that we need to deal with. I need to get power prices down. I need to get people to and from work easier and more efficient. The cost of housing for youth needs to be easier. And by crikey, if I could organise rain across the entire state and get rid of this bloody drought, I'd be a hero.
Okay, yes. Well, if you could do that, you probably would be guaranteed of winning the next election. But look, I don't want to doubt your abilities, Scott Buchholz, but that might be a pretty tough one. Company tax. Are you talking about, when you say you're not crafting your message well enough, is that what you're talking about? Or is it just not popular?
Well, I mean, with the company tax, I'm one of the longest serving members on the Economics Committee. And so, you know, when you look at your superannuation, Laura, and who that money is invested with, for you to get a greater return on your superannuation, I would suggest that the vast percentage of investment that your superannuation funds are making it into large-scale businesses. Now, unlike smaller businesses where mum and dad who owns the show takes a profit, large-scale businesses often have to return that in dividends. So Labor have very articulately, said that that they don't want large businesses generating more profits. We need to, as a government, better articulate where those profits go, as has the Banking Association, where they've said, well, the profits of the banks belong to consumers. Now, the other point I'd just like to make also in and around the banks is, yes, they're undergoing the Royal Commission, but the banking levy that we have put in place, by the time this tax comes into place, Labor are espousing that we have that there's going to be a $17 billion windfall for the banks. The reality is, by the time that comes into place, the banks would have already paid and serviced $16 billion on the levies that are in place. So it's nearly cost neutral in the first year, Laura.
You have been arguing this for 2 years, though, and it doesn't seem to be getting through to the electorate. I'm not talking about a news poll. I'm talking about what we saw in terms of results in Queensland in particular at that Super Saturday by-election. Do you try and give this one more crack, get it through the Senate? If you can't get it through the Senate next week, do you take it to another election?
Oh, that'll be for the powers on bigger pay grades than I to determine what
What's your electorate
what bills
telling
go
you?
before. You know what? They're not running up to me in the street and talking to me about company tax. The issues for me in the Lockyer Valley is water security, trying to drought-proof my electorate. They're looking for a $300 million investment to try and capture wastewater that's going out into Moreton Bay and turn that into a valuable product into building. Growing vegetables to feed the nation and export. They're talking to me about, the rollout of the NBN so that their businesses can be more productive.
Sure,
I don't
but if you
have a
can't
big line of
improve, this
people.
is a big spend for the government, 10 years into the future. If you can't improve the message and if you can't get through to voters by December, do you drop it and not take it to the election? You could,
Laura,
you could lose the election off the back of this.
If we drop it, if we drop it, by the year 2022, there will only be one nation in the OECD that has not signalled that they're going to be putting downward pressure on their corporate tax rate. There will be one nation with a higher corporate tax rate than us, and that will be Portugal. That's out of the entire OECD. The cost of not pursuing it, and it's not sexy, but the unintended consequences of not pursuing this are diabolical for us as a nation trying to attract the flight of capital to our nation.
Okay, Scott Buchholz, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much for that.
Thank you for the opportunity.